Hello and welcome to another history episode of Keep the Flame Alive, the podcast for fans of the Olympics and Paralympics. If you love the games, this is the show for you. And all year long, we are taking a look back at Cortina d'Ampezzo, 1956, the Winter Olympics there. That is the Olympics you all have chosen for us to review and celebrate all year long. It's the 70th anniversary of those games. 50 seems so far away now. They were just right there when we were kids.
And they were the hot, cool thing, too, to look back at the 1950s.
Right. That's right. So this month we're looking at cross-country skiing. It is one of the sports that's been on every Winter Olympics program. So it started out as having just two individual races for men, an 18-kilometer and a 50-kilometer. A relay joined the program in 1936. And in 1952, the games before Cortina, women could compete for the first time in individual 10K. So when we get to Cortina 1956, the event program really changes. So for the men, the 18K becomes a 15K. And then they add a 30K. So now we have four men's events, a 15K, 30K, 50K, and 4x10K relay. This is how the program's going to look until Calgary 1988. And even in 1988, the number of races and distances will be the same, but that's when skate skiing comes on, and we have like classic versus freestyle skiing. So for the women in 1956, they added a 3x5K relay. Teams of three. So now they have two events. And women's cross country changed sooner than men's. They added more events starting in 1964. The relay does not expand till four people until 1976. So 20 years later,
I bet a lot of teams didn't have four people, which is why they did it that way. I know.
May have. I'm sure our Scandinavian countries would have something to say about that. Yeah, right? So snow or lack thereof, which had been an issue in bobsled, was apparently not a problem for cross country, according to the official report of the games. Apparently, enough snow fell in December and January to allow race directors to keep the courses well groomed. However, there are some conflicting stories about the condition of the snow. And Olympedia says that the men's 30K in particular had some difficult snow conditions. So the stadium was located at Campo de Soto, which was 2 kilometers from Cortina. They had the stadium facing south so that film and TV cameras didn't have to contend with the sun while they filmed. And like today, the cross-country venue features a number of trails through both wooded and grassy areas. Depending on the race, athletes did a set number of loops on specified trails. So they'll mark the course ahead of the actual race, but there's a whole slew of trails to choose from. We do have a technological first in cross country. Races are now timed to 1/100th of a second for the first time. And that said, in order to provide details about athlete split times, that was still a manual process that went down the row, apparently. The official report, I love this official report so much. It's light on details in so many places and heavy on details in others, including snacks.
You have enjoyed. Well, you love a good official report, period.
Yeah.
So
good official report. That's
a good official report is always going to be a favorite of yours, and a bad official report still brings great enjoyment.
Yeah. Well, the official report says that all along the cross country course, athletes had access to Ovaltine, and I wonder if they are a sponsor because they are spoken very highly of in the report. They also had access to tea, coffee, sugar, oranges, apples, chocolate, sandwiches, dextrose, and mineral water.
Oh, that's a nice little spread.
It is a nice spread. So
I have never had Ovaltine.
I'm not sure I have either.
I don't think I've ever had it. I would definitely go for some chocolate and a sandwich.
Yeah. Well, I'd try Ovaltine. I may have had it because Ovaltine plays large in the movie A Christmas Story, which of course is a movie of my people. There has been a Christmas Story 5K here in Cleveland because the exterior of the house was filmed in Cleveland and a lot of other exteriors. So It plays very large here as well, and they would give out Ovaltine in the goodie bag. So I think I drank it once. It's, it's milk
a mix.
powder. Mm-hmm. So, how if we talked about the early days of the Olympics being a Wild West where everyone just kind of showed up and said, hey, I'd like to compete, or I'll just throw in an extra event onto my program. So this happened at Cortina 1956, and I'm really sorry I did not see this part in the official report until this episode, but international federations allowed some athletes to enter the 1956 games and forgot to tell the organizing committee's entries office.
Oh, that's a big oopsie.
Yeah.
So people were showing up to race, but the race organizers didn't know they were coming.
No, it's kind of like when they got the result. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, they didn't know they were coming. So this happened in alpine and bobsled, but it also happened in cross country. And the International Federation put Paul Romand of France into the 15K and 30K races. And the organizers only found out when they got the results. It's like, oh, who's this guy?
How did he do?
So Romand did not end up being a factor in the podium because this is Nordic skiing. And for the most part, and we'll get to the exception in a moment, Scandinavian countries dominated the Cortina of 1956 podium, just as they had done at every other Winter Olympics. So in terms of cross-country ski history, we are in what historians call the Hakulinen Jernberg era, named for the two dominant men in the sport, Finland's Veikko Hakulinen and Sweden's Sixten Jernberg. So apologies to listener Manu, who's from Finland, if I'm pronouncing Hakulinen's name wrong, but I'm really trying. Cortina 1956 was Hakulinen's second Olympics. He won an unexpected gold in the 50K in 1952 with the very memorable time of 3 hours, 33 minutes, 33 seconds.
Oh, that's cool.
So listener Manu may be able to explain this a little bit better because I had some difficulties diving deep into Finnish media, but it seems that Hakulinen's time from this 1952 50K race is essential Finnish sports trivia knowledge. And there was also a pop singer named Jussi Hakulinen, apparently no relation, who had a 1998 solo album titled 33333 with a song 333. So, Manu, if you can corroborate any of this info, let us know. But it does seem to be like a big, you got to know what 33333 is. Sixten Jernberg was 4 years younger than Hakulinen, but was really coming into his own in the year or so ahead of Cortina 1956. He was going to be stiff competition for the veteran and really anyone of that area because he would go on to win 86 out of 161 races that he did between 1955 and 1960.
Wow, that is dominance.
So back to 1956, cross country started the day after the opening ceremony, beginning with the men's new 30K event. That field included 54 participants from 18 national Olympic committees, including for the first time Soviet Union. Soviets had made a name for themselves at the last World Championships in 1954, where this event debuted, and Vladimir Kuzin had won the gold there. So he stunned Hakulinen in this event, and that meant that these two were the favorites to win the 30K going into Cortina. The race did not play out to predictions. This race had a staggered start, and the leader at 10K was Sweden's Sixten Jernberg. And Jernberg's at the first of his 3 Olympics. He would cement a name for himself at these games en route to becoming one of the most dominant skiers at the time, but not today. Although Jernberg was 6 seconds ahead of Hakulinen at the split, the Finn came roaring back to take an 8-second lead at 20K. And he kept adding to his lead, and as Jernberg finished and watched the rest of the race, he saw Hakulinen continue to just bring it, and he knew his chances for gold were over. And Hakulinen, who is described by the New York Times as, quote, a baldish forest ranger, because he had a career in forestry.
Oh, so that wasn't like a...
No, he was a career. Yeah, he had been in the army, and he became a forest ranger.
I didn't know if that was some kind of Scandinavian insult.
Well, baldish is baldish wherever you go, I think. Hakulinen won by 24 seconds, and Jernberg took the silver. So where was Kusin, our Soviet? By the time he finished, the Finns were probably still tossing Hakulinen in the air in celebration because Kusin finished 5th, just over 2 minutes behind Hakulinen. And this was the guy who won the first 30K. However, his teammate Pavel Kolchin took the bronze, a full 139 back, and badly cramping by the time he crossed the finish line. Kolchin's bronze was the first Soviet cross-country Olympic medal and the first time a non-Scandinavian had been on the Olympic cross-country podium. So the next day, the women take the course for their first event, the 10K. And since its first appearance at the Olympics, the field had doubled, and they had 40 entrants from 11 countries. At Oslo 1952, Finland swept the podium, but they only had 2 returning athletes for Cortina 1956, Mirja Hetemines and Siri Rautanen, who were the silver and bronze medalists, respectively. Unfortunately, they did not repeat that 1952 success. They finished 6th and 5th. Soviets, though, they came to play. Lyubov Kozareva was the reigning world champion, and it was not really a surprise when she won with a time of 38:11. Race officials did not give split times during the race, so it was hard to know where you stood, but ultimately the podium was a lot closer. Soviet Radia Yeroshina finished 5 seconds behind for silver, and Scandinavia's did get on the podium with bronze. Sweden's Sonja Edström, who was one of the last starters, prevented a Soviet sweep. And time-wise, only 12 seconds separated the medalists, making it a pretty exciting finish.
And this is really in the 1950s where we're seeing the emergence of that Soviet sports machine. You know, we talked about it when we talked about Melbourne and just kind of this emergence of the Soviet Union in all kinds of sports.
Exactly. Also exciting about the women's 10K race were the press comments.
Oh, no.
So I'm going to give you some Google translates from the book La Donna di Cortina 1956 by Antonella Stoletano and Adriana Balzerini, who found rather colorful Italian newspaper accounts, including calling the Soviet successes, quote, horrifying, end quote. In talking about the Italian team, which was very inexperienced and not shockingly had next to no support, until the powers that be realized that the Olympics were going to be at home, and then they gave the women a little bit more money to support the team. Press accounts said of the Italians that they were, quote, Google Translate, quote, the bold Italian girls who, instead of dancing the cha-cha-cha or frequenting the fashionable winter resorts under the pretext of skiing, put wooden poles on their feet and run 10 kilometers as if it were nothing, end quote. The press also mentioned that some athletes wore lipstick. Quote, it claims to protect against chapping. Let's pretend to believe it, end quote.
And they would have gotten criticized for not wearing lipstick, for not looking feminine enough.
Right. They did point out that gold medalist Kozareva touched up her lipstick before taking photos. And again, a great blast from the past in the coverage of winter sports. So now that the fascination with the women's individual event was over, we go back to the men for the 15K. This is the sprint. It's got the largest participation, 62 athletes from 20 NOCs. For the first time, the sprint did not also include the Nordic combined athletes. So apparently the Nordic combined would do their skiing with the cross country, and you just have one big event and they'd split out the times.
Yeah, we talked about this when we did 1924 and how confusing it was as to who was actually in what race.
Yes.
So I guess that confusion continued until 1956.
Right. On a snowy, overcast day, this race belonged to Norwegian Hallgeir Brendan, who had won the 18K sprint at Oslo 1952. But here at Cortina, he was coming off of a toe injury and had not done well so far. He finished 14th in the 30K. However, he was here to show that he was the world's best sprint skier, clearly ahead at the 5K mark, never faltered, won the gold by 35 seconds. Sixten Jernberg picked up another silver. Pavel Kulchin got a second bronze. Veikko Hakulinen finished fourth, 14 seconds off of the podium. The second half of the cross-country event started with the women's relay. The Soviets were the reigning world champs, and as the race got underway, they showed why they were the ones to beat. So 10K winner Lyubov Kozareva got the Soviets off to a 24-second lead on the first leg, with Finland and Norway trailing. However, on the second leg, Finland said, hey, not so fast, and Mirja Hätemins flew through the course, turning in what would be the second fastest leg of the entire race. She got the Finns within 6 seconds of the Soviets. The Norwegians were over 2 minutes behind, and the Swedes were coming up quickly, just 1 second out of the medals. Siri Ratinen was the anchor for the Finns, and Radia Yeroshina anchored for the Soviets. Those two battled it out, and the lead went back and forth, but 1,800 meters from the finish, Ratinen found another gear and blew the Soviets out of the water. It may also have helped that their coach, Vail Saarinen, was considered to be a waxing genius, and the Finns won the gold by 27 seconds. Sweden's Sonja Edström was her team's anchor. She got the best leg of the race, which allowed Sweden to get on the podium over a minute ahead of the Norwegians. So that thrilling race finished out the women's competition. Siri Ratinen went on to compete at 1960. She got another bronze there. And she was also an extremely accomplished athlete in other sports and was named the Finnish Female Athlete of the Year 4 times in the 1950s. The entire Soviet relay team went on to compete at least one more Olympics. Alevtina Kolchina, who we haven't mentioned by name yet, she finished 4th in the 10K in Cortina, but then went on to get 4 more medals across 3 more Olympics. She was also married to Pavel Kulchin, who at this point has 2 bronze medals at Cortina. Their son, Fyodor, would compete at Lake Placid in 1980 in the Nordic combined. So then we're getting on to the big event, the men's 50K. Temps had cooled off. By this race, skiers had to compete in minus 10 degrees Celsius weather, which is 14 Fahrenheit. This pitted the era's rivals, Hakulinen and Jernberg, against each other. But going into the race, again, Soviet Vladimir Kuzin is the race favorite. Unfortunately, ahead of the race, he started to get sick. So he dropped out in order to be healthy for the relay. So no Kuzin in this race. That makes it more clear it's going to be a Finn-Swede showdown. Hakulinen started 5 minutes before Jernberg, but getting the first start didn't make a difference. This race was all Jernberg. The Swede led by the 25K mark. He ended up winning by 1 minute, 18 seconds, broke his silver streak to finally win gold. So in our rivalry, Jernberg wins this round. Fyodor Terentiev from the Soviet Union took bronze. Cross country ended with the men's 4x10 relay. Cross country ended with the men's 4x10 kilometer relay. Another cold day with temps dropping to minus 18 degrees Celsius or minus 1 degree Fahrenheit. Vladimir Kuzin was back to anchor the Soviet team. And even though he and third leg skier Nikolai Anikin had issues with their legs, the Soviets led the entire race and handily took the gold by a 1 minute, 1 second margin. Finns were in second the entire race, with Veikko Hakulinen sealing the deal for the team. Norway had hoped to avenge their poor showing at these games because we've only seen them once on the podium. They wanted to place well in the relay. We've hardly talked about them since the 15K. They're typically a powerhouse. Unfortunately, their bad luck continued. In the second leg, Per Olsen got snow blindness because he's from northern Norway and was not used to skiing in bright sunshine.
Wow, I've never heard of this.
Yeah, it was just really, he was way from far up north, so a lot of the time that
it's dark.
It's dark. So it's bright in Cortina, and he just did not do well with the change. And amazing. Of course, we don't really have sunglasses that I don't know when sunglasses came into being, but we would not have what we see today, obviously, because it's plastic.
Right. And not, and not the sports science awareness that would even be an issue.
Yeah. His time dropped the team to 5th, and the final 2 skiers for Norway just could not get them anywhere close to the podium, particularly when you're going up against Sweden, whose anchor was Sixten Jernberg. So final results there, Soviet Union 1st, Finland 2nd, Sweden 3rd. In their first Olympic appearance, the Soviets won the most cross-country medals, 7 to Sweden's 6, and Finland took home 4. So Hakulinen and Jernberg continued their rivalry, which was more of a rivalry in the press, it seems. In real life, it was a mixture of competition and friendship. The Finn competed in 2 more Olympics, the last of which he raced in biathlon, not in cross country, and he carried the flag in the opening ceremonies. He continued to compete in a number of sports over the next several decades and passed away in 2003 after being hit by a car while he was out for a jog.
Oh, yeah. That's awful.
Yeah. Devastating loss for the country. Sixten Jernberg competed in 2 more Olympics. He won 3 golds, a silver, and a bronze. That was the record Winter Olympic medal haul for many years, but has since been passed. He's also received numerous achievement awards, including the Bronze Olympic Order. He passed away in 2012 at 83 years old. Soviet Pavel Kolchin, who won 3 medals in 4 events at Cortina, was ill during 1960, but competed at Innsbruck 1964. He picked up another relay bronze. He passed away in 2010 at age 80. And Vladimir Kuzin also did not go to 1960 because he, too, was ill, and Cortina was his only games. So, wild days in cross-country skiing. A lot of different stories going on.
You did a deep dive on that one. That was fun.
All right. Sources for this are Discogs, Bud Greenspan's book, Frozen in Time, The Greatest Moments at the Winter Olympics, NBCOlympics.com, the official report of Cortina d'Ampezzo, 1956, Olimpedia, Olympics.com, New England Nordic Ski Association, the book La Donna di Cortina, 1956, New York Times, ProCrossCountrySkiing.com. So thank you so much for listening.
And until next time, keep the flame alive.